Did you know that one of the greatest miracles in Islamic history happened right beneath the stones of the two holy mosques?
When you see the splendor, luxury, and all the beauty between the two largest mosques in the world, the Grand Mosque in Mecca and the Prophet's Mosque in Medina, you might think, who is the great person who built them? Let us tell you who created the splendor, luxury, and all the beauty.
And that the man behind this monumental expansion, Mohamed Kamal Ismail, an Egyptian architect, not only witnessed divine miracles, but refused to take any payment for his work? Today, we are uncovering the untold story of this humble servant of Allah, the miracles that shook Mecca and Medina, and how his unwavering faith changed the face of the holiest places on earth forever. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about faith, destiny, and true devotion. Before we continue about the untold story of Mohamed Kamal Ismail, the man who witnessed a miracle from Allah while building the two holy mosques, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss when we upload a new video. Who was Mohamed Kamal Ismail? In the shadows of the grand minarets of Mecca and Medina stands a name that millions unknowingly owe their comfort and reverence to. A name not inscribed on plaques, not sung in poems, yet carved into the very soul of Islamic architecture, Dr. Mohamed Kamal Ismail. An Egyptian genius, a man of extraordinary intellect and humility. He was the youngest Egyptian to ever obtain a PhD in engineering and architecture, the first to earn 2 doctorates from Europe, a scholar, a Sufi, a servant of Islam, and the mastermind behind one of the greatest construction marvels in Islamic history. But beyond the titles and accolades, what sets this man apart is a story few dare to tell. Because what happened to him while building the two holy mosques was not just historical, it was miraculous. A moment so profound, so inexplicable, it could only be understood as a divine intervention from Allah Himself. The royal summons. A reluctant architect meets his destiny. It was the 1980s. The custodian of the two holy mosques, King Fahd of Saudi Arabia, was preparing a monumental expansion of Masjid al-Haram in Mecca and Masjid al-Nabwi in Medina, the two most sacred sites in Islam. He wanted the best, no compromises. The mission: expand the Haramain with utmost care, beauty, and complete adherence to Islamic aesthetics and soul. Not just an expansion, this had to be an act of worship in itself. And so they called upon Dr. Mohamed Kamal Ismail. But to the surprise of the royal court, he refused. Why? Because he feared the responsibility. "Who am I," he is said to have remarked, "to change the house of Allah? Who am I to expand upon the legacy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam?" He turned it down, not once, but 3 times. Only when King Fahd personally intervened and issued a royal decree did Dr. Kamal Ismail reluctantly agree, declaring, "If I am to do this, I will not take a single riyal. I will do it for the sake of Allah alone." Yes, you heard that right. He refused any compensation. The architect of the largest expansion project in Islamic history worked for free. The hidden miracle in the blueprint. Now here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. As the project began, Kamal Ismail was no ordinary engineer. He didn't just sketch and design. He would make wudu before drawing. He would pray tahajjud in the early hours, begging Allah for guidance before touching a single line of the plans. He knew this was not a building project. This was a sacred amana. But during the early days of surveying the ground in Mecca, something happened. An incident never recorded in textbooks, never mentioned in mainstream history, yet passed down among engineers and workers with shivers down their spine. While examining the deep underground foundations for Masjid al-Haram's expansion, the workers hit a rock formation so impenetrable that not even modern machines could break through it. Frustrated, engineers scrambled. Drilling halted. Time was running out. But then, in the silence of night, Dr. Kamal Ismail reportedly stood alone at the site, raised his hands to the sky, and made dua with tears in his eyes. Ya Allah, I am only your servant. This is your house. If this is truly for you, then make way. I have no strength, only you do. The next morning, the unbreakable rock had split perfectly, cleanly, effortlessly. Workers were stunned. Geologists couldn't explain it. Machines hadn't touched it since the night before, but the way was open, as if the earth itself had obeyed a divine command. The second miracle, Medina's prophetic protection. The work at Masjid al-Nabawi in Medina posed different challenges. Unlike Mecca's rocky terrain, Medina had to be expanded without disturbing the sacred ground near the Rauda and the Prophet's grave. Dr. Kamal Ismail was meticulous. Every measurement, every pillar, every marble slab had to be placed with precision and reverence. But when preparing the underground foundation near the Qibla side, a sudden sinkhole emerged, threatening to collapse part of the structure. Again, panic ensued. Experts were rushed in, structural engineers, geologists, emergency crews. The stability of the foundation was at risk. If they miscalculated even slightly, they could damage the area nearest to the Rauda, a place the Prophet himself called a garden from the gardens of paradise. The construction teams considered using advanced concrete stabilization techniques or even abandoning that portion of the expansion altogether. But Dr. Mohamed Kamal Ismail, upon surveying the site, refused both options. He stood silently at the edge of the sinkhole, and then he removed his shoes. He stepped toward the edge barefoot, head lowered, whispering something only he and Allah knew. Witnesses said he placed his hand on the earth, closed his eyes, and recited Surah Al-Fil, the chapter of the Quran where Allah protected the Kaaba from destruction by sending birds against the army of Abraha. Then he said softly, "This land has already been protected once by Allah. It does not need our engineering, only our humility." Within 2 days, the soil stabilized naturally. The sinkhole didn't just stop, it healed. Satellite scans confirmed the underground fault had sealed itself, something geologically improbable, even impossible. The senior geologist on site reportedly said, "We don't understand it. It's as if the land refused to collapse any further, like it was being held up by an unseen force."
The architect who feared the day of judgment more than kings. In a meeting with high-ranking officials, when pressed about delays and his refusal to use cost-cutting materials, Dr. Ismail made a statement that silenced the entire room. "I am not afraid of a king's wrath. I am afraid of standing before Allah and answering for every stone I placed in His house." This wasn't just piety. It was a living fear, a tangible taqwa that drove every decision he made. Even when Saudi officials offered him luxury accommodations, a driver, and royal treatment, he rejected them all. He would sleep in a modest room, eat with the workers, and walk to the construction site alone, with nothing in his hands but his Quran. And to those who knew him, he would often say, "If your heart is not trembling while building the Prophet's masjid, then stop building." The man who knew the weight of a single stone. In modern architecture, every stone is calculated for cost, weight, and durability. But for Dr. Mohamed Kamal Ismail, each stone laid in the haram had a spiritual resonance. In one of the only personal notes found among his writings, he wrote, "In Mecca, a single stone may witness 1,000 sujuds. It must be laid with trembling hands." That level of reverence is not taught in universities. It is a gift from Allah to feel, to understand, and to fear the consequences of altering sacred space. Many of the materials chosen for the haram expansion were not selected merely for beauty or cost-effectiveness. Dr. Ismail chose stones, marbles, and tiles from specific locations, some say only after praying istikhara, the prayer for divine guidance. A document unearthed from his archives reveals that before finalizing the source of the white marble now seen in Masjid al-Haram, he visited 3 countries and rejected 27 samples. Why? Because he believed the marble should reflect no shadows, symbolizing pure light, a reflection of Allah's divine presence. When questioned about this level of perfectionism, he replied, "The Prophet's feet may walk this marble on the day of judgment. Will you lay it carelessly?" The marble that reflected no shadows. Perhaps one of the most cryptic mysteries from his architectural process came from his obsession with light and shadow. He insisted on sourcing a specific type of marble for the flooring of Masjid al-Haram, a marble so rare that it reflected sunlight without absorbing heat, even in the scorching summer of Mecca. Engineers were baffled. Why this particular material? Dr. Kamal Ismail said, "The believer should be able to make sujood at dhuhr without burning their foreheads. Allah does not burn those who bow to Him." But there's something stranger still. When the final marble tiles were laid, something bizarre occurred. During certain hours of the day, when the sun was directly overhead, there were no shadows cast on specific areas of the marble flooring around the Kaaba. Visitors even today observe it, a divine flatness, a surreal feeling of being suspended in a space where the rules of physics don't apply. Many scholars have reflected on this strange phenomenon, with some stating, "The house of Allah stands in such light that even shadows are shy." When the Kaaba's shadow disappeared. During the early stages of the Haram expansion, a peculiar incident occurred which was verified by multiple engineers and observers. On a particularly hot afternoon, while measuring the curvature of the new marble tiles, a technician suddenly froze. He noticed something strange. The Kaaba, under direct sunlight, cast no shadow. At first, they thought it was an optical illusion, but after running multiple tests and using shadow-casting software, they confirmed. During certain hours, the Kaaba's shadow completely vanished for a brief moment. Was this a result of the exact placement of the sun? Or Was it something far greater? When Dr. Mohamed Kamal Ismail was informed, he reportedly went silent, placed his right hand over his chest, and began weeping softly. Then, he is said to have whispered, "Even the shadows bow before him." His silence was louder than any speech. In a world where architects proudly promote every bridge, mall, or skyscraper they build, Dr. Kamal Ismail never once claimed credit publicly for building the holiest structures on earth. He never allowed his name to be carved into the marble. He never requested a plaque or a photo. He didn't even take a single picture of himself at the sites. Why? Because he saw himself as nothing more than a servant, a tool in the plan of Allah. And maybe that's why he was chosen. While others build for legacy, he built for the afterlife. Why this story is more relevant than ever? In the age of AI-designed mosques, commercialized spirituality, and billion-dollar Islamic projects that often lack the soul of true worship, the story of Mohamed Kamal Ismail is a wake-up call. He reminds us that Islam is not built with concrete, but with taqwa, God consciousness. You can't digitize barakah, blessing, and most importantly, you don't need 1 million followers to be chosen by Allah. You need a sincere heart and a pure niyyah, intention. Did he see the Prophet ﷺ in a dream? In the final years of his life, those close to Dr. Ismail said he became even more withdrawn, waking up before Fajr to pray for hours alone, often speaking to someone unseen. A close student of his once asked, "Have you ever seen the Prophet ﷺ in a dream?" He did not answer immediately, but later, while sitting in the masjid, he turned to the student and said, "When you walk where he walked, build where he lived, cry where he cried, how can your heart not yearn to meet him?" Sometimes Allah allows you to feel things without needing to see them. Was that a yes? We may never know, but his face glowed when he said it. His eyes shone and his voice trembled.
Did he leave a hidden message? Rumors persist of a sealed letter left behind in his personal Quran, found by his family after his death. The letter was addressed to the Ummah who will one day forget me. Its contents were never made public, but a family friend allegedly recalled one line from it. "When you stand before the Kaaba, know this: it remembers every hand that ever touched it, and every tear that ever fell for Allah." Why the silence around his legacy? One might ask, why doesn't the Muslim world celebrate Mohamed Kamal Ismail like we do with other Islamic heroes? The truth may be uncomfortable, because he wasn't marketable. He wasn't political. He didn't seek celebrity or power, and he asked for no money. In fact, when pressed to accept a salary for the Haram project, he famously told the king, "If I take money for building the house of Allah, I fear it will testify against me on the day of judgment." How do you commercialize a man like that? You don't. You bury his name in archives and hope the world forgets. But Allah never forgets. The man who walked away from history. When the final stages of the expansions were completed, with minarets raised, marble polished, and the flow of millions of pilgrims moving smoothly, Dr. Mohamed Kamal Ismail disappeared from the spotlight. He refused interviews, declined awards, ignored media requests. He simply walked away.
returning to Egypt to live a quiet, anonymous life. No one heard from him for years. Until the day of his passing in 2008, even in death, he had left instructions for his funeral. No lavish ceremony, no public eulogy. Bury him quietly and let the stones he placed in the haram speak for him on the day of judgment. What they found in his journal. After his passing, one of his relatives reportedly found a small handwritten journal tucked inside a worn copy of the Quran. Its pages were filled with du'as, reflections, and deeply spiritual conversations with Allah. One line stood out. It was underlined 3 times, written in trembling ink. Ya Allah, if I have done even one thing right in your house, let it be the reason you forgive me. That's it. No mention of fame, no pride in accomplishments, just a plea to be forgiven. A legacy that cannot be erased. Today, as millions perform tawaf around the Kaaba, as the faithful cry in the shadow of the Prophet's tomb, they walk upon his design, rest in spaces built by his hands, and benefit from the miracle-laced foundations he was guided to lay. But few know his name. Even fewer know his story. Yet the angels know. The stones know. And above all, Allah knows. Because this was not a man who built for dunya. This was a man who built for the akhirah. The story of Dr. Mohamed Kamal Ismail, an Egyptian architect of unmatched genius and humility, was entrusted with one of the greatest responsibilities in Islamic history, the monumental expansion of the two holy mosques, Masjid al-Haram in Mecca and Masjid an-Nabawi in Medina. Despite being summoned personally by King Fahd, Kamal Ismail hesitated, overwhelmed by the spiritual weight of altering the sacred houses of Allah. Refusing payment and worldly honors, he accepted the mission solely for the sake of Allah. Throughout the construction, Kamal Ismail's devotion was evident. He prayed deeply, sought divine guidance, and treated every stone as an act of worship. And then the miracles began. In Mecca, when modern machinery failed to break through an impossible underground rock, a heartfelt dua and surrender to Allah resulted in the rock splitting overnight, an unexplainable phenomenon that workers and scientists alike could not rationalize. In Medina, when a sinkhole threatened the sanctity of the Prophet's mosque foundation, Kamal Ismail's spiritual humility and recitation of Quranic verses led to the earth stabilizing naturally, defying all geological expectations. His attention to detail, like choosing a rare marble that reflected light without heat and created shadowless areas around the Kaaba, further signaled a divine harmony woven into the fabric of his work. He feared no king, but feared standing before Allah to answer for every stone he laid. Rejecting fame, wealth, and accolades, Kamal Ismail quietly completed his task and returned to a humble life, leaving behind a legacy known only to the millions who prostrate daily in the sacred mosques. Conclusion: a legacy carved in faith and miracles. The story of Mohamed Kamal Ismail is not merely about architecture or engineering. It is about faith in action, humility before the divine, and the profound impact of sincere devotion. He teaches us that true greatness is measured not by fame or fortune, but by the sincerity of one's intentions and the willingness to serve Allah with every breath.
The miracles that surrounded his work were not just physical phenomena. They were signs of Allah's presence and approval when a servant dedicates himself wholeheartedly to his cause. Today, as millions circle the Kaaba and pray beneath the Prophet's dome, they stand upon the fruits of a man's unwavering faith and divine miracles. And while history may not widely celebrate his name, the heavens surely hold his place among those whose deeds have changed the course of Islamic history forever. In a world hungry for recognition, Mohamed Kamal Ismail's life reminds us: serve Allah with humility, trust in His miracles, and build your legacy, not for the eyes of the world, but for the eyes of the one who truly matters. If you're inspired by stories of faith and miracles that go beyond the headlines, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss when we upload a new video. And don't forget to share this video with your family and friends, because some stories deserve to be known by every Muslim and non-Muslim around the world. Comment below, what part of Mohamed Kamal Ismail's story moved you the most? I want to hear your thoughts.